From what I can tell, they're friends of that drug dealer. They would have killed me once I had all that coke on the boat.
Everyone calls Dexter the monster. But what if the real psychopaths were sitting at his office desks? If Miami Metro ever had a human resources department, the entire cast of Dexter would be collecting pink slips by the end of episode 1. The precinct is less a law enforcement agency and more a chaotic social experiment, a laboratory of neuroses, moral compromises, and wildly inappropriate office conduct. Forget the murders. The real crimes are happening between coffee breaks. Let's start with Sergeant James Doakes, the department's resident drill sergeant and self-appointed human lie detector. If Dexter Morgan weren't secretly a serial killer, Doakes' relentless antagonism would make him the office menace. His behavior, the insults, the stalking, the casual workplace intimidation, would land him in HR sensitivity training faster than you could say, "Surprise, motherfucker." He's not just a hard-nosed cop. He's a man on a one-man crusade against anyone who doesn't meet his internal definition of normal. And yet, within the asylum that is Miami Metro, Doakes somehow passes as functional. Of course, to be fair, Doakes isn't entirely wrong. His suspicion of Dexter stems from something deeper than petty dislike, a soldier's instinct. He doesn't sense awkwardness, he senses danger. Dexter's hollow politeness, his delayed emotional responses, his habit of watching people as though studying insects, these aren't social quirks, they're warning signs. Doakes' background in special ops trained him to recognize predators, and Dexter gives off enough red flags to decorate a parade. When Doakes believes Dexter is merely a drug addict, his hostility eases. Once he suspects something darker, the alarm bells return. Paranoid? Yes. Unreasonable? Not entirely. But then again, reasonable is a foreign concept at Miami Metro. Lieutenant LaGuerta flirts with Dexter moments after publicly humiliating his sister. A stunning display of professional decorum. Masuka's entire existence is an HR case study in sexual harassment. Deborah Morgan processes her trauma by developing an ill-advised crush on her adoptive brother and chasing father figures like emotional life rafts. Quinn takes bribes. Batista drowns in alcohol and bad romantic decisions. And yet he's somehow regarded as the most stable person in the department. A title that says more about his coworkers than about him. Even Batista's normalcy collapses under scrutiny. Between his history with sex workers, his alcoholism, and his ill-fated entanglement with LaGuerta, whom he swore not to date, then promptly married. He's the moral equivalent of a man clinging to a life raft in a sea of dysfunction. He means well, which, in Miami Metro, might actually make him the weirdest of them all. Then there's Dexter, the forensic golden boy whose hobbies include light banter, donut distribution, and extracurricular homicide. His moral code, kill only the guilty, offers a warped sense of justice that the show loves to frame as principled. But make no mistake, Dexter is not a noble vigilante. He's an addict with a scalpel, justifying his compulsion through a twisted interpretation of ethics. When he uses police resources to fuel his extracurriculars, the audience is meant to admire his cleverness. In reality, it's blatant corruption. The irony is delicious. Doakes, the one man actually doing his job, is vilified for harassment, while Dexter, the department's most prolific criminal, is beloved for his dedication. If Dexter weren't a killer, his constant fake smiles, late-night escapades, and strange detachment would simply make him the precinct's oddball, the one everyone avoids in the break room. But because he is a killer, Doakes' obsessive scrutiny becomes tragically justified. It's poetic, really. The man most right about Dexter is destroyed precisely because he was right. And yet, even Doakes' moral high ground erodes upon reflection. He's not exactly a paragon of restraint, stalking coworkers, violating privacy, escalating confrontations. In any ordinary office, he'd be escorted out by security. But Miami Metro isn't ordinary. It's a carnival of dysfunction where the most inappropriate behavior passes for normal. Masuka's sexual commentary is ignored. LaGuerta's political scheming is applauded. Deb's profanity-laced tirades are tolerated because she's passionate. It's an environment so toxic that Dexter's detached sociopathy almost feels like an adaptive trait. If the precinct is a circus, Rita Bennett represents the fragile illusion of normalcy outside it. Her domestic storyline offers the counterpoint, the quiet, suburban bubble Dexter builds to appear human. Rita, however, is built on denial. She is kind, loving, and catastrophically naive. A woman desperate to believe she has finally escaped chaos, only to unknowingly invite it back into her home. Could she have handled the truth about Dexter? Absolutely not. Rita, who nearly left him over a suspected drug problem, would have imploded upon discovering his true addiction. Her life with Paul, the abusive, drug-addled ex, already conditioned her to fear danger lurking behind domestic smiles. Learning that her gentle, attentive partner spent his evenings dismembering human beings would not spark understanding. It would trigger survival instincts. She'd grab the children, call the authorities, and never look back. Some argue she might have stayed, rationalizing Dexter's vigilantism under the pretense of justice. After all, history is full of spouses who turn a blind eye to power, corruption, or worse, as long as the facade of safety remains intact. But Rita's motivation was never power or prestige. It was peace. Dexter's code, his supposed moral compass, would mean nothing to a woman whose only desire was to raise her children without fear. To her, a killer is a killer, no matter how poetic the justification. Others imagine she might have tried to understand, even accept him. After all, she ignored the warning signs when Paul accused Dexter of setting him up, and her reaction to violence was often muted by love. But love can only anesthetize so much horror. Rita's fragility, her dependence on emotional security, would crumble beneath the weight of such revelation. The betrayal alone, the realization that her entire relationship was a meticulously crafted lie, would devastate her far more than the murders themselves. The tragedy, of course, is that Rita's ignorance is her only protection. She believes in the man Dexter pretends to be, not the creature he truly is. When she dies, she becomes the ultimate casualty of his double life, proof that his carefully balanced moral arithmetic collapses the moment it touches innocence. And so, Miami Metro spins on, a hall of mirrors where everyone lies, cheats, or self-destructs in the name of justice. The supposed heroes are hypocrites, the villains self-righteous, and the moral center, Dexter's code, is nothing more than a sociopath's spreadsheet of rationalizations. Doakes dies for being right. Rita dies for believing in good. And Dexter lives. Not because he deserves to, but because chaos always survives its own making. In the end, Dexter isn't a story about crime or punishment. It's a story about a workplace that mistakes dysfunction for dedication, and a man who mistakes control for conscience. Miami Metro doesn't need a new lead detective. It needs a therapist, a priest, and a full-scale federal investigation. Until then, the murders and the meetings will continue. If Miami Metro had HR, I'd be fired too. Subscribe before they find out.